Hi, I'm Belinda Carley, Director of the Institute of Personal Care Science, and today I'm going to be talking you through some testing equipment that we use in the personal care industry to evaluate efficacy and performance of certain actives and personal care products. I'm going to start with the corneometer. This is a device that measures the moisturization or hydration factor in the skin. It does this because it has a electric probe on the end that measures the conductivity within the skin. Now, moisturized skin, hydrated skin will carry charge, will carry more conductivity than very dry skin. So what this device does is it actually measures that conductivity and converts that into a hydration factor. To do the test is very simple. You place the probe over a portion of the subject's arm, and then we would apply a product. We would mark the area first. We would take the test before any product has been applied, and then we would come back and test at times after. So it might be at t=1 hour. We'd check again to see the hydration factor of the skin. We could check again at 4 hours, 8 hours, 24 hours, and so on. What you can see on the screen here is a measure, and that's a measure of the hydration again within my skin on that test site. So when you have a product that has good moisture retaining factors in 1 hour or 4 hours, even 8 hours, you'd only see a small drop in this graph. It's a way of measuring between products the different hydration factors and the effects on hydration they have on the skin. So you can compare products using this technique. You can also just evaluate the one product and its efficacy on boosting hydration or at least retaining hydration over a time period, like I say, 1, 4, 8 or even 24 hours. The types of claims you can make from doing this test: increases skin hydration by up to X% within 1 or 4 hours, etc. Improves long-term hydration, and X times the hydrating benefits of a competitor product. So again, this is a different test site, but just so that you can see how it compares, you'll either see the value going up or going down according to the hydration levels in the skin. So again, you take the first test on an untreated site, you'd apply product, and then you test again at 1, 4, 8 or 24 hours as relevant to see how hydrating the product is or how hydrating a product is compared to a competitor's. Now I'm going to show you the Chewometer. Now this measures transepidermal water loss. It's a very interesting probe, this one. What you will see is in here is 2 moisture sensing probes. Now what these do is sit above the skin and measure the moisture levels above the skin. This particular probe is especially good for measuring the moisture protective benefits of using a certain type of product. Because these moisture sensing probes are affected by drafts, you need to also use a specially designed Perspex box or similar to minimize any possible drafts or airflow in the room, because that can impact the results. So it gets placed on the subject's skin. Again, a test area would be marked out, and then a recording is taken. So as you can see, it's really important to limit airflow. So we can take an average over those final readings, and that will give us our initial transepidermal water loss score for this particular subject. A product would be applied, and then we can retest at a certain time point. Now it would typically be 1, 2, 4, 8 or 24 hours. It could also be extended over a certain time frame, a period of days, so that on repeated applications of a product we can truly evaluate how much moisture loss we are preventing from the skin. So this particular test is particularly good to determine moisture protective benefits of a product. Claims you can make by using this probe and this test: resist moisture losses by up to X% within X minutes or X hours, protects moisture levels within the skin for up to X hours, improves long-term moisture protection or skin barrier protection by X times within 2 or 4 weeks, for example, or comparing moisture protective benefits of your product versus a competitor. This is what we call the cutometer. Now, the cutometer will measure elasticity of the skin. In this particular probe, there is a small suction device, so that when placed on the skin, it will actually apply a suction and then release. Suction, release, suction, release. So what this device actually does is measures how the skin deforms and how quickly it returns to its original position. This helps us determine the elasticity response of the skin, and we can conduct this test at various time points. So we would measure the elasticity of the skin at time point equals 0, and then we would apply product over a number of days and then remeasure the elasticity response of the skin, usually after 2 or 4 weeks, and that helps us determine how much more elastic the skin is. And it can also be used to help measure skin firmness, as in the response time from deformation back to the skin's original position, as a measure of skin firmness. So to conduct the test, we apply the probe to the skin, and then you'll watch the graph there. This second test is indicated by the blue line, so we have suction and release, and it shows you the elasticity response of my skin in that particular area. So it's very important when conducting this test that the same test site is used at each test point to get accurate results. And if product is increasing the elasticity response of my skin, making it firmer, you will see an increase in the elasticity results obtained. Now I'm going to show you the sebumeter. Now this is a way of measuring for sebum, or oil content of the skin. So what we have is a device with a tape. Now this tape absorbs any oil on the skin, and it then can be measured and graphed out as a result. So to do the test, we need to apply this to the skin for 30 seconds, and we would pick a particular zone of the skin. Again, the same test site needs to be used. Typically we would conduct this test over a period of 7, 14, 21, 28 or even 35 days, while applying a product once or twice a day, to determine how well it controls sebum levels within the skin. Now I need to hold this here for 30 seconds, and then the oil has been detected on my skin and it can be measured on the graph. Just to demonstrate how well it determines this, I'll now test an oilier area of my skin. And again, the paper is applied to the skin for 30 seconds so that it can soak up all sebum and oil in that area for a predetermined period of time, which is the 30 seconds. You'll see the countdown occurring on the screen. And that's my indication to remove it and then get my test result. As you can see, the skin of my cheek is dramatically less sebum containing than the skin on my the skin on my forehead area. So it's very important that the same test site is used at each time point, but as you can see, it's a very effective measure of sebum content of the skin. This is particularly useful when you're creating products for acne prone or oily skin types, and you want to see how effective the product is at controlling and removing excess sebum. You can also use it to test the cleansing power of products, so you can measure the oil content of the skin before applying a cleanser and then measure the oil content after the product and the oils have been washed away. So to measure oil content of the skin, the sebumeter. The next test I want to show you is using the Mexameter. Now the Mexameter is a very interesting device because it can measure the brownness or redness of the skin. So you can actually do quite a few tests with this device. You can test for tanning results, you can test for whitening results, and you can also test for potential irritation or erythema results as well by detecting any redness. So you can also check for sensitivity or potential sensitivity that may be undetectable to the eye. This particular device needs to have a shadow ring attached so that you don't get any possible light interference when testing the subject. So what we need to do with this device first is get a preliminary reading, and that gives a melanin value for the test site as well as an erythema value for the test site. Now what we would do then is apply the product, and if we were measuring detection of redness, we could actually try to measure redness after as small as 15 minutes or an hour to see if there's any potential irritation or sensitivity reactions on application of the product. We could also do that over a period of days. With melanin, it is generally measured, if we were measuring tanning, we would generally measure the tanning result after a few hours, after 8 hours, after a couple of days. If we're measuring whitening results, we would typically measure after 21 or 28 days, and that's simply because the cell turnover process would typically take about 28 days to usually get a result. We could test at 21 days to see if we start to see any visible lightening, but generally you won't see lightening results until the 28-day point simply because of cell turnover. So just to illustrate how the readings will differ, I'm going to just test another site, in fact my other arm, and you can see that there is different values just because it's a different test site. So it's very important when conducting this test that the same test site is used at each test point so that you can get an exact value. And again, to use the little shadow so that we're not getting any interference from outside light when we're doing the test. So using the Mexameter, we can either test compared to competitor products for skin lightening, skin tanning, or potential irritation, as well as just determining the results and the efficacy of a single product over a selected time period.